as I said to the kids, Jesus is wonderful, our God Savior and friend, but he also has some tough teaching. See, offer no resistance to one who is evil. Love your enemies. Okay. Now the church has struggled with this because there is the moral self-defense of yourself and loved ones, etc. So the church has had to apply a prudential judgment. Here's the norm of Christ. Then there's the messiness of the world, and to ask the Spirit to help us what's the best circumstance here. So we can even come up with a just war theory, although that's difficult to actually apply. But nonetheless, the church struggles to take the powerful teaching of Christ, which is love and compassion and forgiveness, and apply it to an evil world. So at times we must be prudent when we confront evil. I'm going to invite our deacon in the making, dear Bob, to come up and talk about security concerns and our response to that here at the church.
Before I begin, I'd like to have everybody, kind of like when we give the sign of peace, just to look at who's around you, who's in front of you, who's next to you, and then go a little farther. Who's way in front of you? Who's way behind you? Who's way to your left? Who's way to your right? These are your family. These are your neighbors. These are your friends. These are the people who God automatically expects us to love. Bless you. And in this church, that love is built up between us, back and forth between us and God. And what God wants us to do is take that love out through those doors into the world and love everybody that we can. And we're going to talk about those doors in a second. Today I'm here to give an update on the safety and security program that I started for St. Agnes Parish. If you were able to attend any of the information sessions that were presented by myself and your fellow parishioner Ron Zona, you will already have an idea about what I'm going to tell you. The safety and security program was started for 3 reasons. The first reason was because of the attack on the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh on October 18th, 2018. The second reason arose from a class assignment that I had been given from St. Vincent Seminary. For the last 3 semesters, I was to identify a need here at St. Agnes. Then I was supposed to develop a program to address that need. And then I was supposed to enact that program to satisfy that need. And that program is the safety and security for here at St. Agnes Parish. Now there is also a 20-page paper about this program that I have to write so I can graduate. Okay, what we identified was the need for first aid trauma kits here in the church, in the parish hall, and over in the offices in the convent. As you can see, I'm holding one, so this has already been taken care of by a few people who graciously donated the money so that we could purchase these. And this one, you can see I took it out over at the baptismal font, and that's where this one will be kept in the church, only because if something happens in the back of the church, we can't get to it. If people are trying to get out of the church and they're going through this exit, it makes it tough to get to it, so that's easiest access. So if ever comes a need, you know where it's at. That's where it'll always be. Okay, said I was going to tell you about the doors. That was another need that we needed to address. The doors are old, they need updated. And until that is possible, what we have done is there was a grant offered by the state of Pennsylvania for all houses of worship in the state of Pennsylvania up to, I think, $125,000. We didn't apply for that much because we had to match the funds. But we did apply for a grant to help us update the doors. But until then, it's going to cause, the plan that we have, it's going to cause a little bit of an inconvenience for the people who enter through the side doors. To make the parish a little more secure until we get the new doors, is we are going to lock those doors so that you cannot enter. But because they have push bars on them, you can exit at any time. And because you can't enter there, and if that's the way you normally enter, it may cost you another 25, 30 steps to get in. We're all health conscious, so a couple extra steps. And the handicapped people that park on this side at this door, that's where your love of neighbor comes in. If you happen to be in the church and somebody's coming in that way, you can open the door and let them in. And like I said, you can get out those doors. What we are going to do is for the center doors, the outer two will also be locked, but they will be fitted with bars also that you can push to go out. The entrance that we would like everybody to come in is the two center doors. That would also add to getting to know everybody as they come into church. We're all coming in the same door instead of, I know it's a little bit of an inconvenience, but there's benefits to it. The other reason is we had to find a way to secure the middle doors quickly, because the only way to secure them, if something would happen, would be with a key, and you'd have to go outside and lock them and then pull them shut, and that's just not feasible. So after a lot of research, checking different security devices, I came up with this. It's hardened steel. Dan's laughing, okay? It's hardened steel. It's bent like this. I painted it nice and orange, so if everybody sees it, if there's something going, and this happens to be in the door, and you want to go out, you see this there, just pick it up and drop it on the floor, okay? This will not bend out. Tried it on the door, 2 people pulling on each door, it won't give way. Yeah. The doors will move a little bit, but they won't open. And that's just so we're not spending a needless amount of money on things that we're going to eventually not use. And I thought it was a pretty good idea. What we're going to do with the side doors also, so people know, it's going to be within the next couple weeks, there'll be signs on the doors that say exit only, please enter through the center doors, so in case people forget. We're also looking to get surveillance cameras for the building and an office security door, so that the people who come to the door will have to be buzzed in by whoever's in the office, because there are some times when the ladies are in there by themselves, and due to the state of the world, we want them to feel a little more safe of who they let in if they don't recognize them. There's also a rear door on the church that is a security problem, and we're going to replace that. It'll be an exit only. And I mentioned about we're applying for the grant, so we ask, since it's for all the houses of worship in the state of Pennsylvania, say a little prayer that we get that little extra money so we can update the doors. All of these safety and security points have been represented by Ron Zona and myself at multiple information sessions that were held over the past year here at St. Agnes. And we would more than gladly be happy to present them again for any group or anyone interested. And we ask you to please call the office and express your interest, and then we'll put together more time that we could. What I'm telling you now, you're probably having wonders like, why are they doing this and everything, but this information and security session brings it all together, and you'll have a little better understanding of why we're doing this. The reason we're moving ahead with this plan before we get the new doors is because the recent incident in West Texas that was all over the news a couple weeks ago, the church was laid out similar to St. Agnes, just a little bit bigger. I was quite surprised at how the media covered it, but it's something that needed to be shown. So we're moving ahead because we have this plan, and if something would happen, it would be bad for us to say, we had a plan, we just didn't enact it. So I spoke to all 3 masses, so everybody will know. And the only inconvenience that we found so far is that these side doors will be locked. If anybody who is active police, active military, retired police, retired military, EMS, if after Mass, I'll be available to answer anybody's questions, but if anybody is involved with law enforcement or EMS, please stop and see me after Mass so we can just touch base on what we're doing to maybe get you involved a little bit here since you're coming to church here. Remember I said earlier that there were 3 reasons why we're doing this? I only told you 2, if you were counting. Okay, the third and most important reason is the great love that Msgr has for all the members of his parish. He feels a great need to keep you safe. And one last thing that I need to point out as part of this plan that concerns all of you here. I'm going to step aside a little bit because last night I scared somebody. I have this voice that my wife doesn't know where it comes from. She thinks it comes from way, way, way deep, that I used to use professionally. And it also stopped my kids in their tracks when they were doing something wrong, so I never had to spank my kids. But I'm going to tone it down a little bit. As part of this plan, what everybody needs to know, if there is some kind of threat, you're going to hear whoever we have back at the door watching. You're going to hear myself, even Msgr with his speaker. If we see something, you're going to hear, "Get down!" What? That was half. Did I scare you kids? Yeah. You okay? Aw. I'm sorry. There'll be candy for you next week.
That was actually a reduced amount.
Okay, and that reason is if a threat is observed, what we want you to do, the safest place for everybody to be is down between the pews. So we ask you, if there's somebody younger, child, older, help them get down and get down yourselves, okay? And then we'll go from there, whatever happens. And the other thing is, if you're down, whoever's coming in can't see you. But that also gives the people here that have identified themselves to help protect if anything happens. They can see the person. Like if you saw in the West Texas video, everybody got down, so it gave the gentleman a clear line of sight to the attacker. And that way nobody else gets hurt but the person who needs hurt. Programs similar to this one that I've been talking to you about have been enacted in the Diocese of Greensburg. There are some that are trying to be put together in the Diocese of Greensburg. I was already contacted by numerous other churches to come and assess their churches too. I think in March I have to go up to Indiana and look at 5 churches up there. And on a closing note, personally, I would like to thank all of you for your prayers and support as I have worked my way through this journey and now my last semester at St. Vincent. Actually, it's 2 more months. You have all welcomed me and my wife to be part of your family over the last 2 years, and family takes care of family. I ask for your continued prayers as I will continue to pray for all of you. I love all of you. Thank you.